Hello everyone, welcome back to AB-Aquariums. Just wanted to do a little video talking about the easiest fish you can keep in a saltwater aquarium. If you're just getting started with a saltwater tank, maybe you're coming from tropical side and you just want to get into your first saltwater tank and you're not really too sure how you're going to go about it. I really think you can't go too far wrong with a pair of clownfish. They're really hardy, they're not going to let you down, they're going to be a good solid fish that you can sort of start off with. And I think you'll have a lot of luck with them and you'll really enjoy them. Really easy to care for. I've gone for a pair of black and white clowns here, similar to the standard Ocellaris clownfish, but just a slightly different colour variety. These aren't the really rare type ones that you get with like designer clowns where they've got like no stripes on them, or they're all sorts of different varieties you can get now. But these are just basically your standard Ocellaris but black and white version. I thought I'd just go for something slightly different, and I love them. I think they're great to keep in a marine tank. You only really need 40-50 litres, that sort of size tank. This is a Fluval Evo aquarium here, which is like 15 gallons, something like that. Yeah, no, it's a decent sized tank for them. They don't seem to move around a lot. They're not like you've got like sort of in the freshwater side, you've got fish that travel up and down the tank like schooling fish do. Clownfish tend to hover around corals or anemones, and they tend to stay in sort of one sort of place. So you don't really need to worry about getting a massive tank for them. But give them at least 15 gallons or 40 litres at least, to give them that decent bit of space, so they've got a little bit of stability in the tank. But yeah, if you're just starting out with the marine tank and you wanted something to really get yourself into the hobby, and something nice to look at, but not sort of too common or basic like a damselfish or something like that. You wanted to go something a little bit more, a bit more character. They're always begging for food. They're not aggressive. Well, they can be aggressive, but they're not that aggressive. With other tank mates and things like that. Some damselfish can be a bit more aggressive. I mean, these can nibble your fingers if you put your hand in, and they can sort of see you off, but they're not too bad. Mine are pretty laid back, pretty chilled. I mean, obviously everyone's going to have different experiences, but they're pretty laid back, they're pretty chilled, and they're really hardy. They can take a few beginner mistakes, if your water parameters aren't bang on, if your salinity's slightly lower than, the standard 35 parts per thousand, they're not going to have a fit about that. If you're at 33, 34 parts per thousand, they're going to be absolutely fine. But yeah, no, I keep mine in a soft coral tank. In terms of ease of care, you can't really get much easier than this tank. I hardly ever do water changes on it. I top up evaporation with fresh water, and I've even stopped using RODI water. I choose dechlorinated tap water now because I'm not keeping any finicky corals or any corals of any value. The fish don't mind, they don't need RODI water. They'll be happy with tap water that's been dechlorinated. When you top up, the evaporated water, you're not using salt water to top it up, you're using just fresh water, which is what evaporates, not the salt. And yeah, I rarely do water changes, maybe once in a blue moon, really, every couple of months, maybe longer than that sometimes. But what I do like to recommend, well, what I would recommend is to keep a soft coral that grows like a weed, because similar to planted freshwater tanks, when you've got plants that grow like weeds that absorb a lot of the nitrates in the water, it's good to have a coral that's similar like that. So this is the leather coral, which is named neon green Kenya tree. You probably see it a bit better with the blue light on. You can see slightly more of a neon glow there. But not only are they nice to look at, but they grow really fast and they spread around the tank. Once they settle in, they just keep growing and growing and growing. And what I do is I cut it all back like you would, I don't know, like a lawn. Cut it back like you would a lawn, and it all grows back and grows into like a thick jungle of Kenya tree again. But yeah, that's what I tend to do. I tend to let it grow out, let it absorb all the nitrates in the water, and sort of get rid of a load of it. I mean, I would give it away to people if I knew more people that had marine tanks and they wanted a weed of a coral. But yeah, no, it grows that fast, so you do have to throw some away, unfortunately. But yeah, no, it's a good idea if you want a really easy to care for marine tank and you're not worried about having fancy corals that are high value and need a lot of care, especially hard corals. Soft corals like leathers and things like that, mushrooms, xenia, things that are really easy to care for. green star polyps, as long as you don't smother them with other weed corals. You can have a nice looking tank with nice fish that, you know, you don't have to do too many water changes. Like I say, I rarely do water changes on this tank. I top up evaporation with fresh water and they're absolutely fine. But yeah, it's a good starter fish for beginners to the marine hobby, as long as you've kept freshwater tanks before and you know about the nitrogen cycle and you've got a clue about how to keep fish well, you know, morally, and you know, keep them thriving. Yeah, I'd say a pair of clownfish. The male will be the smaller one, the larger one will be the female. They'll you know, they'll be a good pair and they'll be good, nice to watch, and be a nice little addition to your marine tank. So yeah, if you're new to the marine hobby, I would definitely recommend a pair of clownfish, which is obviously the most recommended fish for beginners anyway, but I do think it's got good reason for that, you know. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. What other fish do you reckon would be good to be a good companion with these guys? I mean, there's a few others you can do in small tanks, but if you're doing like a smallish tank, I think a pair of clownfish are a great option. All right, well, I'll see you on the next one. Take care.